Okay, so let's do a quick overview of the wonderful information that can be gleaned from using a GI map test with Zonulin. And this is the test that I use for everyone that I work with to evaluate gut health and get a really deep look at what is happening within the body that cannot be seen through regular labs or through even a scope, for example. The first thing we look at is bacterial pathogens. So we want to know, are there any bugs in there causing something like gastroenteritis? And it'll show us, for example, C. diff is a common one that is really unfriendly. And we want to know, are those in the digestive tract? Also looking at parasites and viral pathogens. Those kinds of things cause more acute symptoms versus long term. H. pylori is a big one. It's been present in the digestive tract of humans since the beginning of our existence. Many people do come back positive for H. pylori, but what you want to know is whether or not any of these virulence factors are present, so that can cause all kinds of gastrointestinal issues. The next thing that we look at is the keystone or commensal bacteria. These are different strains of bacteria that are known to do specific things in our body that are helpful for us. For example, if you look here at Akkermansia, where it's showing a very low level there, this is something that I commonly see in people with not only digestive issues, but metabolic issues and weight loss problems. The role of this specific bacteria is simply to create a healthy intestinal lining, and it does assist us with metabolic health, and we can replace that if we see that it's deficient, or we can support its growth and replace it in the digestive system. Again, just another way to characterize the different bacterial phyla that we want to see in the gut. Next, we see another panel of different what are called opportunistic, meaning they take advantage, especially when we don't have adequate amounts of the helpful bacteria. It makes it very easy for these guys to take over, and they can cause a variety of symptoms in the body, again, that would never be seen on a regular blood panel or even on a scope. We can discover whether or not fungi or yeast are present in the digestive tract. That causes all kinds of symptoms for people when those are present. Things like cytomegalovirus and Epstein-Barr tend to be associated with toxicity from Lyme, for example. But the test does show us what's happening with those two viral markers. Again, a longer panel of parasites. And then I love the intestinal health markers. For me, this is where you get the biggest bang for the buck out of this test. Steatocrit is showing us how the digestive enzymes are working, whether or not there's fat in the stool. And as you can see, like what you want is to be in the green bars of these levels. Elastase is a pancreatic enzyme, and we want to make sure there's adequate amounts of that. These two things are grouped together because if there's inadequate elastase, you will see higher levels of steatocrit in the stool because digestion is not happening properly, and that will affect absorption of nutrients. Beta-glucuronidase is really important. Harmful bacteria in the body spit out beta-glucuronidase, and that makes it very difficult to process estrogens and toxins. They cleave those products from their binding sites as they're trying to make their way out of the body and can cause a variety of symptoms, in particular for women, estrogen dominant symptoms. The occult blood is just seeing if there's blood detected in the stool. Secretory IgA is an inflammatory, immune marker, so you can tell whether you have an inflammatory response, high immunity on this side of the bars, versus perhaps over the long term, immunity within the gut has been suppressed. So that's the case in the sample report, as we see the marker is on the lower side. The anti-gliadin, the IgA, is a marker for gluten sensitivity. It's not a celiac test. It tells whether or not you're reacting to the gliadin, which is the protein on wheat. Eosinophil activation protein is beneficial for people who have things like eosinophilic esophagitis. Calprotectin is helpful in differentiating irritable bowel syndrome from inflammatory bowel disease when that is elevated. And then the zonulin, I think, is the absolute most important marker on this test. It's detecting for gut permeability. Gut permeability can occur for a variety of reasons, from stress to food sensitivities to antibiotic use, infection. And what happens is that the normally tight junctions within the intestines that keep food in the digestive system and proteins, broken down proteins in the digestive system, those tight junctions become leaky for the reasons that I just mentioned. And when that occurs, large proteins can get out from the digestive system and into the larger circulation, and that causes inflammation and many, many different kinds of issues, from skin issues to neurologic issues. And it's also been determined to be a cause of autoimmune disease. And the reason for that is that some of the proteins that make their way out into the greater circulation mimic human tissue. It's called molecular mimicry. And when that occurs, the body will begin attacking itself, confusing those proteins with its own tissue. So I think everyone in the whole wide world who can should find out whether or not they have gut permeability and proceed with a gut repair protocol, because it will impact health over the lifespan.